Hello. You're double fisted. Sorry.
We start them with the double fisting young.
Yeah, she's got a phone on each ear. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. Henry likes to double fist with the food.
Yeah, there you go. See? Whatever you gotta do. She had both pencils earlier. I mean, however.
Yeah. So, I'm Crystal.
I'm Erin.
I'm Jessie.
This is Henry. And Avi and Tessa are off,
Doing who knows what.
Playing with
I
Henry's
know. You can play together.
toys. It's fine.
So I know I said that we were going to be talking about audience this time, but I thought it would be a better idea if we talked about beginning a project, like the very first stages of, we get an idea and it's like, oh, I'm going to write about this. And like, I know for me, I usually write out of something happens and I have an experience, an emotion, and I'm like, wow, I need to write about that. And since I write fiction, I kind of go in the what if direction, like something really bad happened to me and how do I make the unforgivable forgivable?
I really like that that's part of your process because as someone who writes nonfiction, that's part of my process, and I always it's easy for me to compartmentalize and to think, well, fiction and nonfiction, two different things, not at all the same, but really our process is the same.
Mm-hmm.
We take experiences, we take emotions, things that are meaningful to us, and then we transform them into writing that means something to someone else. So that's really cool.
And that's something I've noticed is that it doesn't matter what I write, poem, short story, screenplay, children's book, the process is the same. I go through the same steps. I'm just, like if I'm writing a novel, the outline process is a lot longer. If I'm doing a poem, I don't write out an outline, but I know in my head where it's just kind of like, okay, this is how I want it to go. Same with children's stories. I skip the formal outline, but
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, anything that I've ever written has started from just a scene, or it's a snippet of dialogue, or a really cool scene, or an idea for world building that just gets jotted down, and then the story would come from that. I do not necessarily write what I know, which is sort of that everybody says do that, but I mean, everything like that always happens. Like you always end up writing what you know because you know how you feel about things, you know how people respond to certain situations and things like that. But I don't ever necessarily start with an emotion or something that's happened to me.
But even if you hear a snippet of dialogue, you're like out grocery shopping and you hear something, you're like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, that is still an experience you're drawing off of.
That's true. And you're like, okay, well, how can I take this and make it something really neat? More? Right on Tessa.
She's on a riding car, her first time, like riding solo.
Here. Go Tessa. Tessa, great. I think she's stuck.
We have a runaway baby.
That was awesome, Tessa.
The look on her face, though, is priceless.
While we're chasing the baby, I'm going to get myself a scone.
Do you want some of this, baby? Oh, no, it's fine, baby.
Here.
Oh. That's just sad. Evelyn, you want more of this? There you go.
So, just so we know, every week I'm going to have some kind of baked good just to remind us. From last week we talked about remembering that description is not just about what you see. And so every week I'm going to have a baked good so we can think of smells and taste and all that kind of stuff. Texture. So I think for this week's exercise, what we wanted to do was take a few minutes to just brainstorm, just come up with ideas of, potential projects we could start. And then next week we'll talk about outlining based on some of the ideas we come up with. So Henry is going to be working with us.
Yeah, here you go. This is Evie's page. Alright. These are good. They are. Here you go, baby. Alright, here. Oh, it's stuck.
I need a
this.
pencil or a pen or something.
I do not have an extra one on my person.
Jesse, there's a couple here. Could you grab me anything?
Yeah, kind of sort of usurped it. Does your lead come out the end there?
Yeah.
Okay. So just as an FYI, you took the
Yeah, I
eraser
know.
off. Okay. Because Avie does that to my mechanical pencils too. And then she ends up with the Mac there.
Thank you.
Here you go, babe. You want to work too? You want to brainstorm some ideas? You want to write on your paper?
All right.
Okay. Good job. I'll hold your paper right here. All right.
Tessa.
Here, baby.
Me.
Bye. Bye. Right here.
Eraser's not food, baby.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did you get too much?
She's got so much in her mouth.
Gosh.
Mm.
Oh, that's a good idea, Henry.
On top of the paper. There you go.
Tessa.
Put it down. Yeah. Oh, put your phone right there. Good. Bye.
No, ma'am, you don't fit over there.
Right there.
I know, the kitty cat's over there. I know.
Right here, baby.
I know. You can't go get the kitty. You can't. Kitty cat's over there. Oh my goodness, big girl. No, Tessa. Honey bun, you do not fit over there. Here. Go around here.
Here you go, bud. Here. You got some Avie scum. Here you go.
Thank you. I'm like, he has his scone somewhere. He didn't finish. I saw it.
It's over here.
Okay.
I mean, but, you know, Avie's not going to get that whole thing.
So do we have some ideas?
Just a couple.
I have a few as well. I mean, it was only 3 minutes, so
Well,
anything we got in 3 minutes is pretty good.
yeah. So what do we got?
I kind of cheated. I'm gonna admit that.
That's okay.
Because I am currently in the middle of working on a book, and so 2 of my ideas actually had to do with scenes that I want to put in those books. And one of them literally, so it's a story about, it's a romance novel between a single mom and her baby daddy. And he did a thing, didn't know she was pregnant, and was gone for 3 years. And he shows back up and he's like, oh crap. And so my ideas I came up with were a couple scenes where he will bond with this little girl. And kind of like, so one of them is coloring, because Henry was coloring just now, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. She's coloring with her daddy, and they're getting to know each other for the first time.
It's a good one.
That is a good one, yeah.
So that's using something that literally just happened real life and how I fictionalize it.
Right on. So I also kind of cheated. I have this idea in the back of my head. So I am a D&D nerd, And one of the games that we had that was long-standing, we had a barbarian in our party who, over the course of the game, learned to read using the picture book of Pelor, which is one of the gods in D&D. And so I really want to actually write this book. I have a friend of mine who's an illustrator who she said that she would make these pictures for me, but that's what I really want to do is I want to make this picture book of Pelor for little kids.
That would be awesome.
Another idea I had a couple of weeks ago, my daughter really likes looking through my manga and comic books, but I don't have any board books for little kids that are done in a comic panel style. And I would think that would be really awesome, but I would need all kinds of other ideas. That's just the concept idea. I don't have any actual content for that.
That is a good idea, though.
Yeah.
Like, would it be a character-driven story,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
would it be more educational, like, you know, I have Newtonian physics for babies?
No, I was thinking more like character driven, but much more like think about Rugrats. You know what I mean? Like how it was always a story and an adventure. It was just a little kid. It was like from the perspective of what little kids can get up to when parents aren't looking. But like as a heroine, because that would be cool.
I like that. I do like
I
that.
like that as well.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Well, I was thinking of some ideas for future blog posts, or I also have a podcast that I write episodes for, and so
Links in the description.
a few things that have happened actually in the past week. I've already been sort of thinking, would I write about this? One is that we had a demo done at our house of the rainbow vacuum. It's a very, very expensive, fancy, high-tech, super awesome vacuum. My husband and I could never afford that vacuum. But we agreed to have the demo done at our house, and through the process of being shown the demo, I was like torn up inside because it's showing how the person shows you how disgusting your house is, basically. And shows you how even after you vacuum and sweep over, you know.
If it makes you feel any better, that's not real. They have like tricks to make it seem dirtier than what it actually is.
Well, I mean, we did actually vacuum with our vacuum, and they vacuumed right over the same.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm telling you that even like you go to the mall and they're like, oh, let me do this exfoliation stuff on your skin or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not real. I mean, it's like real. They're really doing these things, but they have little tricks.
Yeah,
that
perhaps.
they use.
I don't know. I mean, they're a pretty reputable brand. I know that NASA uses them in several different hospitals. Anyway, so we had the demo done at our house, and my husband and I were really torn about it because we realized that the stuff that we currently use to clean our house does not actually get our house clean, which we've known for a while, but it was not so blatantly shown to us. And so for the next like week or so, he and I were just kind of realizing like the things that we are doing now, like, are they really the best? Like, do they provide the best? Because the whole time that I'm doing this demo, I'm thinking, my daughter crawls on this floor. You know, she walks on this floor. Like, you know, at the end of the day, her knees are covered in dirt from, like, climbing, you know, all over our hardwoods. And I'm thinking, like, is something wrong here? And so he and I have been talking a lot about, like, you know, what does it mean to provide the best for your kids? And does it have to look a certain way? Or what if you can't? Like, what if you know that you literally just can't? Like, how do you cope with that? And we've been thinking a lot about that. And I just thought, how many things could this apply to? You know, like, oh, I want to give my kid the best education, but maybe you can't. Or I want to, you know, provide them with this opportunity. I want them to enroll in dance class or music, but then you can't afford the lessons. And so it's just, I don't know. It's a, like, it's not fiction, so, like, it's, you know, it sounds kind of funny, me talking through this, but
it's the
that's
same.
something-
It's the same concept where something sparked in you. You're
Yeah.
thinking how this can apply to other.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
it's nonfiction, it's still doing like it can that experience of my house isn't clean. I'm not doing the best for my kid, and there's a million other ways that can, you know, extrapolate and apply to other situations.
Yeah, into all of the, you were talking about how that reaches every aspect of the kid's
Yeah.
life. I mean,
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that is also something we all struggle with. Is like
yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's the reason why I do nonfiction, to relate to whoever else is out there dealing with the same thing. And that's what fiction does too. Draws people in, builds a connection.
Yeah.
So,
That's
hence why we write.
Yeah, well, and like, so I have a friend that she only reads like classics, right? Whether they be contemporary or, you know, traditional. And I pretty much only read like science fiction and fantasy, but I like it because they're both exploring the same thing. Like, what does it mean to be human, right? And you get to, like, the classics show you like a lot of like transformative stories and what does it mean when somebody gets put in this situation. And I feel like speculative fiction allows you to just talk about the experience of what does it truly mean to be human, because you can put people in situations that would never happen. It's all wet. Like, I think somebody put it in their mouth and then, thanks. You gonna eat it? No? Okay. I'm gonna put it on the plate right here.
And we will just keep in mind that
That just nobody touch that. That's really wet. But anyway, I feel like no matter what you like to read or whatever, like that's what writing does. Is it allows everybody to explore things about themselves or life that you don't necessarily get to do just by living it just by yourself.
Yep. So that's all I got.
Well, I think.
Hi, Henry.
Well, I think Henry has decided that it is time for the video to be over.
Let's get right on that table.
I can feel it.
So,
Hi, Henry.
all right, until next week.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We will talk about outlines next time. I promise that I will do what I'm saying.
All right. It's okay. I feel this was a good place to start, though.
Yes. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.